I'm Kathy Ray. I'm the mayor of the city of Paris, Tennessee, and you are watching Good Day Paris.
Hello, Paris and West Tennessee. Welcome to Good Day Paris. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I can't wait to bring our guests out here. I know you're going to love them as much as I do. I'm so excited about tonight. Tonight's show is going to be full of fun facts and good laughs. Joining us tonight is the station manager for Forever Communications in Paris, Lance Pierce, as well as their advertising executive and my good friend, April Wilson. If you have any questions for them during the show, just place them in the comments section below and we'll do our best to get to you and get them answered right away. So sit tight and don't go anywhere. They'll be out here in just a minute. In the meantime, however, I have just a few announcements to make, so please send any comments or suggestions that you may have to our email address, which is gooddayparistn@gmail.com. Let us know what you think or what you'd like to see in the future here. Also, sign up for our newsletter by visiting myparistv.com. You'll stay informed about upcoming shows, events, and other news that we've got for you. So now, as we do every week at this time, it's good stuff to know time. So, today, August 10th, is National Connecticut Day, recognizing the contributions of the fifth state to join the United States of America, a state full of revolutionaries, innovators, and philosophers. You should explore all the adventures Connecticut has to offer. And just in case you were wondering, National Tennessee Day is October 26th. So let's start getting ready to celebrate that. And it's also National S'mores Day, originating in 1927 in a Girl Scout trail guide book. The campfire snack was originally called Some S'mores. Do you like s'mores? I'm not a fan, they're too sweet, but everybody loves them, except me maybe. So anyway, leave a comment below. It's also National Lazy Day, and that's dedicated to all you couch potatoes out there and sloths who value a good nap over anything else. And you probably could do more with your time, but that's up to you, isn't it? So, no offense, just saying. It's also National Shapewear Day, tracing its origins back to the Greek and Roman times. It has been boosting people's confidence for centuries, and today is dedicated to appreciating its amazing transformative powers. We women love this day. And finally, on a more serious note, it's National Agent Orange Awareness Day. This horrible chemical agent developed by our good friends at Monsanto and Dow Chemicals is really quite an evil chemical compound that has really decimated the lives of hundreds of thousands of people and still impacting lives to this very day. From all the horrible medical illnesses affecting the troops that were exposed to it, to the absolutely horrible diseases and birth defects still affecting Vietnam today. It's still entering their food supply some 50 years later, causing many devastating effects, and that's really very sad. It was classified as a defoliator, and its cousin is still in use today, and you might not be aware that it's the cousin, but so anyway, be careful out there when you're using products like Roundup and other weed killers. They could be killing you and your family or a pet, so please be careful. Not the usual lighthearted information here tonight, but something extremely important to be aware of nonetheless. Now, on to notable August 10th birthdays. Actor Antonio Banderas turns 63 today, and adventurer and explorer Josh Gates turns 46. He's one of my favorites. I just love that show. Anyway, don't you just love those expedition shows he's on? I mean, come on, they're amazing. And finally, the talented entertainer Jimmy Dean was born on this day in 1928. He was 81 when he passed in 2010, and most people remember him for his brand of sausage, which truly is, I think, one of the very best, that has been hitting breakfast plates since way back in 1969. But he was also a notable country singer and actor. So moving to this day in history, on this day in 1793, the Louvre opened its doors in our sister city of Paris. It still remains as the most visited museum in the world. It has, I don't know if you have, but I have never been there. Have any of you ever visited there? And if you have, if you've got pictures or anything from there, would you share them with us? So leave a comment and let us know. We'd love to see your pictures if you've been to the Louvre. Also on this day back in 1864, the Smithsonian was founded in D.C. by the U.S. Congress. Interestingly enough, it was funded by British scientist James Smithson. So if you ever wondered where the Smithsonian name came from, hey, now you know. And finally, on this day in 1948, the very first and longest running reality-based comedy show called Candid Camera began airing on ABC. And this was the granddaddy to all the popular shows today. It was hosted by producer Alan Funt and had the incredible 28-year run on TV. But most people don't know it started out as a radio show. And it was called Candid Microphone. A little radio trivia for our guest today. And you know, y'all come on out here and be with me now. Did you guys know about that? That it was Candid Radio? Candid Microphone?
No, but I'll tell you a little bit of some trivia.
All right.
The founder of Forever Communications and Kirby Confer, he started off in television with a dance show of his own.
Oh.
And he had a gentleman that was an intern that eventually started working for him. And he was kind of quiet. He didn't really, make too much of a fuss or anything. He's always in the corner making notes and stuff and everything. And that young man grew up to become a film director and made a movie or a Broadway musical or something to that effect based on that show back in Baltimore, and it turned out to be the movie Hairspray.
Get out.
And John Waters was that young man that worked for our founder of our company.
Wow, that's awesome.
Kirby Confer.
Hairspray was great.
Yes. And so that's kind of how all that comes together. So, small world, I guess you could say.
It is a small world. And anyway, welcome both of you.
Thank you.
It's so good to have you here, Lance and April.
Great to be here.
I know, and we've got so many different things to cover. Especially about the station and everything. I'm really excited about it. It's been in so many different places within our city, but blocks away from each other, really not that far. But so it started out way back, it went on the air 76 years ago, so that would have been like 1947.
Yes.
And then in May of 2022, WTPR AM 710 went on the air with 250 watts.
Yes.
Wow. Tell me a little bit about this picture here.
Okay. Now that was way back when, and I don't know the exact date. Excuse me, on that picture, but I want to say that our news director, her father, Shannon McFarland, her father may be the one that's talking on the microphone there, and so. there's a long history with WTPR. Of course, it started off in 1947 as a part of the Dixie Network.
Yes.
And those stations originated down around Jackson, Tennessee.
Okay.
And so you've got Jackson, Lexington, you've got all the little towns around here. I want to say Martin, maybe Union City, but that's how it all started with all these little stations around, and Paris was one of them. And WTPR, there's two thoughts of what the call letters stand for.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that the other day.
You've got WTPR, which would be West Tennessee Paris, or like what we like to say, we treat people right.
Oh, I love that too.
And it goes along with, like we also own a station in Carroll County in McKenzie, WHDM. Well, some people say that stands for Huntington, Dresden, McKenzie.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was in a store not too long ago, and a lady saw on my shirt I had WHDM on there. She goes, "Where hours disappear magically."
Oh my goodness!
And I was like,
remembered that.
Yes, she listened to it when she's a child.
Oh my goodness! Isn't that something?
Yep.
I listened to that on Saturday nights. They had gospel,
Really?
and you could call and request.
What year was that? Do you remember?
Oh my gosh!
40.
I was staying all night with my grandmother, and my
Really?
grandmother would let me call in and always request my favorite songs or gospel songs.
The first time I ran across WHDM, I was actually in
It
McKenzie.
was not in the 40s.
It was in the 40s. Don't let her fool you.
It wasn't in the 40s.
But
yes, I'm sure.
I ran across it. I was just driving down the road, and it used to be over there behind the McKenzie Banner.
Yes.
And it was a little gray building, and I saw these call letters, WHDM 1440 AM. I was like, what's that? And I flipped it over, and I think Rush Limbaugh was on or something like that. I don't know for sure, but I think it was a talk radio back then. But yeah, we started off over the Lucky Hardware store.
Yes,
And that eventually became Wallen Hardware, and right now there's a Mexican restaurant in there.
That's right. Yeah.
And we've all eaten there.
Yes.
And on the second floor,
I love it.
which would be cool to be back in that spot because you could oversee all of Paris.
Look at that.
Yeah,
would be-
there it is.
We
Yeah,
would
there
have
it is.
so much
That.
fun.
Oh, my
yeah.
goodness. And I ate right there at the top, and I was looking down over the city after having read this. You know, I'm like, this would be spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
To have a radio show here when you can just look out over the city. Oh my goodness.
Well, and you could do so much from that vantage point.
Yes.
Where we are now, we're in the old Bell South telephone
right,
building.
the Bell South.
And it's got a lot of history and a lot of interesting things that had happened, but we're off the court square, so
Right.
we're not
Yeah.
right there where at some
all
point
happening.
there's a photograph of I don't know if it's during Mule Day or
Yeah,
what
there-
it is,
yes,
but there's a gathering there, and there's a band that's playing on this platform.
Yes,
And there it is, right
Yeah,
there.
there you
I mean,
go.
that is so cool. How cool would that be to be?
I know.
I haven't seen that picture.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah. Gentleman's
And
playing
that's on
steel
the
guitar.
square.
Yes.
On our square.
I love it.
And that's back when they used to have Mule Day and everything in the 50s down
Now
there.
explain, what is the wood that they're standing on there? Was that just a wood platform that they built on the square?
I
or
believe it was probably
there
just a
wood?
makeshift stage.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
And they just stuck it out there. And I mean, you just think about being out there and all those people and having like a bluegrass band out there.
Oh my gosh.
Mandolins
That's awesome.
and acoustic guitars and steel guitars. It's like there.
Look at the lady in the little white boots.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
those are
How
those
cute
are
is
like
that?
in style now.
Yeah. And
That is so cool.
I bet she'd have that
I want to
fringe
get
and
me some of
everything.
those.
Yes,
I'm coming to work in those.
Kind of
Go-
reminds you of
go-go
Patsy
boots.
Cline, who
Yeah.
was just over there in Camden.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
then after being located above Lucky's Hardware
Mm-hmm.
for all those years, WTPR moved on the second floor of the building, which now houses Attorney Bill Looney.
Right, right.
Okay, and that's on Poplar and Washington Street.
That they moved from the west side of the court square one corner over to an opposite corner on the east side.
Okay.
And they were there for a few years. And I can't talk about the old days or the beginnings of WTPR without mentioning one of the most famous people that have ever been on the airwaves, and that's Ralph Emery.
Oh, okay.
Ralph Emery got his start at WTPR way back in the 40s. Of course, he was from McEwen, Tennessee. Grew up there and got started with the Dixie Network. and got started there. And I want to say when he was here, he was at where Bill Looney's office is now, so on the east side of the Court Square. But they moved from there to where they're at now, which used to be the telephone company.
Which is 206 Poplar, right?
No, 206 North Brewer.
Yeah. There was one,
Yeah.
right. on
They
North
were
Brewer.
at Poplar Street just for a short period of time, and the thing is that if you go to the building over there, it's kind of got that Art Deco style
Yeah,
design out
definitely.
front,
You can tell.
and there's a big plaque out front that says Dixie Networks,
Yes.
and so it's right behind our catfish that we've got there.
Yeah.
And it's really cool, the history there.
Because it was owned once by the Dixie Network and featured a variety format for a lot of years. So, yeah, that makes perfect sense, and it's still there.
And we've got and I don't know if I sent that picture to Kevin, but we've got
The golden.
Well, they used to print the lineup of what was going to play, the song lineup, in the old Parisian newspaper.
Oh, my goodness.
And
how
so
cool.
that-
Oh, my goodness, your friendly
And that's-
neighbor WTPR.
yeah.
Look at that.
And that is, let's see, on the air Thursday morning, 5:45. So that was, with that time frame, that was in the summer, I would say, whenever that was. May 7th of 1947 or 49, it says there. So yeah, that's about right, because when you've got AM radio stations like that, they're called daytimers.
Right.
They come on when the sun comes up and they go off when the sun goes down. And that is
Very
by
cool.
design. That's to protect the larger 50,000 watt stations, which we won't get into the whole civil defense and all that sort of thing. But during the war, that's what that was designed for.
Oh, okay.
You
Well,
cut
that
them
makes
off
sense, too. Yeah.
because you've
perfect.
got big stations like WBAP, which is an old station. It's so old that somewhere in the 60s, I want to say, or 50s or 60s, anything that was east of the Mississippi River, the call letter started with a W. Anything west of the Mississippi River, it started with a K. Well, this
Oh.
station is a 50,000 watt blowtorch. It's at 8:20 a.m. WBAP, and it's so old it's got a W call sign.
Wow.
So those 50,000 watt stations blanketed the country, and that was by design for national defense during the war. So if they
Yes.
needed to get information out, they could, but they monetized it during the day, and that's why you had the daytimers.
Okay.
So that's kind of a little side.
Yeah, good
note
to
there.
know. You know, I didn't know that. And, well, I'm sure there's plenty about this industry that I don't know.
There's a lot of interesting facts out there, yes.
But do you remember a group called the Golden Voices? They were a gospel singing group back then, and I think we do have a picture of them if our producer can locate that and get that up. But they were popular and sang at different functions locally all over. There they are. There's the lady with the little
Yeah.
boots. That's her.
That's probably
That's
probably
probably
was
who
them
that
on
was
the
then.
stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she had that little fringe kind of dress
Yep.
on.
And she's playing the stand-up bass and everything. I know at one time, some radio stations back in the day, they would have a little box out front.
Uh-huh.
You put $10 in or $20 in, and that got you so much time on the radio. And
Oh,
so they would
wow.
have Sunday mornings. If you wanted to come in and preach, you just put money in the box, and they'd turn the microphone over to you. Your time was up, they moved you out and moved somebody else in there. Or if you wanted to come
She would
sing
have
or
gone
whatever.
crazy with that.
Oh yeah, that's something that she would have done
Man.
back in the day.
In trouble with that nowadays.
Good
Yep.
thing that was in the 40s. You weren't even around.
No.
Not even thought
Not
of.
even thought of.
But anyway, they did play at 8 a.m. on Sunday mornings, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then we had a control room picture of WTPR in 49 when it was located in its very first spot, which was the second floor of the Lucky's Hardware building at Market and Wood. Yeah, that was that one. That's the first one that we
I
had.
love that
And in the
picture.
photo are several of the early pioneers. Yeah, and you mentioned Mac McFarland, which is Shannon's dad.
That's Shannon's dad.
Yeah, the father, her father, and she writes for the Paris magazine. My gosh, she's good, and her
Yep.
photographs amazing. That girl is talented.
And she is our news director as well. So
Oh, there you go. I
she
didn't know
is-
that.
Yeah.
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 Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yes.
awesome.
She's our news director.
And then there's also Jim Blaine, Lorenzo Smith, Welcome Stanton. That was his name, Welcome Stanton. That's interesting. And Chuck Jones.
Yep.
Henry County has a great musical legacy, that's for sure, with many great musicians and musical groups around. And that still is very prevalent today. My goodness, we've got more talent here than, I mean, it's just crazy. And they're still playing on the square.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Still. So, I mean, not much has changed, you know, in all these years. That is really beautiful.
Of course, whenever I was a kid, and we're talking late 70s, early 80s, you know, you've got different segments of when you had different ownership. You had Joe Van Dyke that was an owner of the station, and he had his group of folks that were there. And then you moved on to when Lon Sosh owned the stations. And that was roughly that was about 1985 on up to early 1990s. Well, you had 710 AM and 105.5 were the two stations. We had the FM station there, and you had folks like Carl Throgmorton. He was in the mornings, and you understood him. He was Carl T. in the morning.
Oh, I love that.
And- and
That's so endearing, though, to have things like that, you know.
And it was small town.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Yes.
And then Lon bought the stations. Well, let me back up just a little bit. I can't talk about WTPR without mentioning Judge Harold Jackson.
Okay, Harold
And
Jackson.
Judge Harold Jackson, it didn't matter if it was coming a foot of snow down. It wouldn't matter if it was a torrential rain, downpour, if it was 110 degrees. And he would always start off his broadcast, and he would do the swap shop show. Kind of like a trading post. You know, I've got a bucket of corn I need to sell. And,
Oh,
you know,
my
But he would
goodness.
start off his broadcast every day, no matter what the weather was. It's a beautiful day in Paris and Henry County.
Aw.
And that was his catchphrase.
Oh, my
and
goodness, how
people
awesome.
to this day will go back and say, Judge Harold Jackson, it's a beautiful day in Paris and Henry County.
Oh, my goodness, that's awesome.
And so, you know,
Great
that,
memories.
Oh yeah, and the greatest thing is it's small town radio. It's what it's all about. We're talking about our friends and our neighbors,
Right.
And even to this day, we keep it that way because we are Paris's radio station. We're telling
Yeah, you
the
sure are.
story of
You sure
Paris
are.
and Henry County, and
That's
we're the
right.
biggest supporters of Paris and Henry County. That's our job every day. And then you had the Lon Sosh period where Lon owned the stations, and that's when 105 changed to rock and roll.
Oh, boy.
And man, all of us
Those
kids
long
that were in
hairs.
high school,
Oh, boy.
we found
I
our
can
station.
imagine.
We would listen to that, and then 710 broke off and was more big band 50s, 60s, and 70s era.
Yes.
Now,
That's right.
when I tune into WTPR, we're hearing stuff that we were in high school, and we're
That's
like,
right.
wait a minute, that's not oldies.
Yeah.
We're not oldies.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I mean, I've never thought I would ever hear Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin or the Beatles or, you know.
And what's crazy is when you go to Washington, D.C., and they're playing it in the elevators. I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
And it is happening.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
all of it.
Well,
It's crazy.
She'll come sashaying down the hall. She'll hear something and she'll be like, "That's my jam," and it's like, "That's on 710." It's like, oh no. But we're all getting old.
April is so entertaining all by herself. I love that girl.
I don't
I
know.
love to dance and sing.
I don't know
Good,
what radio
good for
station
you.
she's got going on in her head though. Some of the time.
W way out there.
But I mean, we had a good time, and about that time in the '80s, kind of talking about the history of radio in Paris, around 1982, and we're going to kind of take a different swing here.
Okay.
Out on India Road, J-Star Broadcasting,
Yeah, tell me about India Road.
they put on the air WMUF, and yes, it was named after a dog, Muffy. And that was AM 1000.
Who knew that?
I didn't even know that.
Yes. See, I remember all this because, I mean, this was all whenever I was a
Yes,
kid
well,
coming
this
on.
was your focus.
Yes.
This was your thing.
And And so with that, WMUF came online, and you had Cindy Snyder, who is a name that's very well known
Yes.
in Paris and Henry County.
Yeah.
Bart Herbison, who is with, he's actually with the Songwriters Union. He's the representation for the Songwriters Union. And I may have his official title, but I think he's the president of that.
Okay.
And so he's in Nashville, and he does a lot of lobbying and legislating, or, persuasive arm bending, I guess you could say, for the Songwriters Union.
Good.
And he was a news director here. And I would remember listening to Cindy and Bart's morning show, getting ready for school whenever I was a kid, and going through and doing all of that. And so out there on India Road, they started they started WMUF, and they played rock and roll as well. So that was all what was going on. And so you had two different stations playing rock and roll and all that. And then eventually in 1985, Gary Benton bought that station, because J-Star, those folks really didn't know a lot about running a radio station. So they, it kind of went into bankruptcy. And so after that, Gary bought it. And Gary was there for, up until we sold in 2019. And
Goodness.
He gave me my start in it. So.
Now that's wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Just to take you back a little bit, it was such a strange time when we were going from the country and the gospel, and then kind of the Elvis time, and all those kinds of songs, Jerry Lee Lewis and all them, and then over to rock.
Oh, yeah.
What a change. What was that like for you, April, living here? You were just right down the road.
I loved classic rock. Gosh, that's all we listened to.
But the thing about it was, then it wasn't classic rock.
It wasn't classic. It was new.
It was rock.
Yeah, today it's classic
It
rock.
was rock.
Yeah.
And that was and kind of getting into the programming side of radio and everything, is that I saw a documentary not too long ago. I want to say it was on Access TV. And it was about those years when
transitioning.
Whenever hard rock
right
came online, and it started off around in the Midwest, and it really didn't catch on at first because people thought it was too wild, and it was too.
And it was a bit wild. I mean, let's face it. I was a city girl. Okay, so coming from a big city, it was a lot easier to accept. But these little small towns, I used to wonder even then, how in the world are they dealing with this change, because they were more Bible Belt, they were more, not that we didn't have all that in St. Pete, but it was, we were a metropolis. I mean, even back then, it was a really big little city. It was little, but it was growing, and it grew quickly, whereas these little towns didn't. And so I would think it was pretty traumatic for you guys, but it's interesting to hear you say you loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Embraced it so.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it was that.
That's what we grew up on.
Yeah, and it was different, because my parents. Oh, I remember sitting in the back of the car, and we would call it communist music.
Yes,
because we
the
were
devil's music.
Well, it was country music. I didn't preface that, but we would be sitting there, and we would be made to listen. And of course, it was a different time back then, because we didn't have seat belts in the car.
No,
you stood up.
You could run all over that car.
Oh yeah, you stood up next to your mom or dad in the car, and some parents smoked in the car and would crack the window about like
windows
that.
all rolled up.
And,
dear Lord.
Kids nowadays don't know the struggle whenever we were younger, because
boy, they don't.
That was when you could. It's weird now when you go to a restaurant somewhere in Kentucky and they ask you smoking or non-smoking, because it's like,
I know, yeah.
Can you smoke in the? And I don't know of many that you can. But I remembered that whenever we were kids, and we would have to listen to country music. Now we go back and we look at it, and it's really, really neat. It's nostalgic.
Yes.
But back then it was torture, because you'd have to. How many times do I have to listen to Tammy Wynette, and how many times do I have to listen to that old twangy country music?
Yes.
Where you look at the country music now. that bro country
Yeah,
and all that
yeah.
sort of thing.
It's-
And it's like
it's,
these guys.
interesting.
Little old lady, I overheard one time. Little old lady say something about, when you had Waylon and Willie and Hank and all those guys, they lived that music. They got the scars to tell about it. These young guys now, they don't live this. They didn't live that. They don't
Yeah.
have the stars
Yeah.
or the scars or anything like that. So that's it's just interesting how music has progressed and how it's changed.
Yeah, the
and-
Muscle Shoals sound kind of came in and
Yeah.
moved everybody forward.
Yes,
and
yes.
We just had Rick Revlon, and he
yeah.
told us, oh my gosh, and that's such good music. But now I look back and I treasure that music.
Mm-hmm.
It's real memory makers for me, because I do remember my mother singing Tammy Wynette
Sure.
or something, and it's so endearing. That's such a permanent memory in my mind of how much I loved her and how much fun it was to just be driving down the street. No air conditioning in the cars.
No AC.
She had a little Tempest with this little thing on the front. You put it drive, in reverse, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And beautiful little car. And we'd be singing at the top of our lungs.
Oh yeah. And that, for the longest time, that was my parents. That was their rock and roll.
Sure.
Was that country
Yes.
music?
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't any like rock and roll.
Right.
And for some reason on my Facebook feed or whatever, I'm seeing a lot of Beatles stuff come up.
Yeah.
now. And I was
Yeah.
not a big Beatles fan, but diving into that older music and everything, and seeing how they performed and seeing how they wrote the music and all that, and how it was a big change and how it changed radio.
Yes.
I mean, it did change radio a great deal.
Oh, yeah.
By offering a different genre and a different demographic, and then you break down into how you sell the advertising and all that sort of thing, which we won't get into because I know that's kind of boring, but
It's interesting, actually.
but that's just one of the things that you got different tastes now. You got
Yes.
different genres. You've got urban.
Right.
You've got country music. You've got classic country.
Yes, it's
one of
so
our-
fully saturated everywhere, which they didn't have that. And it kind of reminds you of, remember back in the day when you got a doctor, he did everything.
Yeah.
One doctor, it didn't matter what you had going on, that's where you went.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be that way with the music. Now it's like, oh my gosh, there are so many
Can't
different
keep
venues.
up. There's
yeah,
so many artists.
yeah, and it's gone everywhere.
Yeah, it is. And there's different subject matter that's out there now.
Right.
And that's one of the things that we all have a common interest in.
Right.
And of course, talk radio. We don't have a talk radio station here in Paris, and there are particular industry standards or requirements that say whether or not talk would go over in a
Right.
place.
Right.
It deals with the makeup of your demographic. Unfortunately, it's how many people have college degrees, how many have post-secondary education, how many it breaks it down into that.
Yes.
To where talk would be an ideal place to have it. Usually, it's in your bigger cities, but if you're like me. At a certain point in time, I did ball games for 20 plus years, and I would come home at night, and it would be late at night, and I really didn't subscribe to television. I mean, I liked it, but if I wanted to watch TV, I could go to other places and watch it. But at my house, I would listen to the radio going to sleep at night. And it'd be
Yes,
like midnight,
yeah.
1 o'clock. So who was on at midnight?
Yeah.
Coast to Coast.
That's right.
George Norrie.
That's
And so you
right.
start talking about the paranormal, and you start talking about all that, which we all have an interest
Oh
in.
oh yes, and that's where it all came from, because we would listen to that, and of course I was having so many experiences. It was like, oh my gosh, other people are having this too.
Exactly.
I'm not alone. I'm not a nut.
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah, I mean,
It kept me sane.
It did. It was a way, and a lot of that was before, even before George Norrie with Art Bell, and then it parlayed into many different shows and all of that. But that was theater of the mind, and that's the biggest thing that
Yes.
radio is. It's
Right.
the theater of the mind.
It
It allows you to
is.
go anywhere and everywhere, and it's such a cool medium because you can do so much with it.
That's the truth.
And
That's the truth. And speaking of paranormal, is WTPR haunted?
Well,
we don't know.
David says it is because he thought I came in one morning. And
Yeah, tell me your story. What's that
Yeah.
about? Yeah.
He Well, when I did come in, I went back to the studio. He said, "I thought you were already here. I thought I saw you come out of your office." And I go, "No." He said, "Somebody came out of your office and went up the hallway." And I was like, "It wasn't me." And he said, he just saw like the figure of a woman.
Interesting.
And then Gary Ann says that she hears people talking. Muffled talking.
She said she's heard muffled talking. And of course, she also said she heard bumps under the floor. Well, upon further investigation, there is a cat around. Because I actually saw it today in the alleyway, and he's just happy as can be. He just, But I don't know. And we've had this conversation before, but you have some folks who are more susceptible, who are more open to it.
Yes.
I don't think I am, because you start thinking about, and I'll go down on India Road, and God bless him, my old buddy Tim Alsbrooks, who was news director, best friend. He passed away in 2019.
Oh.
And sometimes down there, I'll go to India Road, and I try to see if, Timbo might be around or something. And I don't feel anything. I don't know. So, you can get into a whole different show with all of that.
Right.
Did he pass over? Did he, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But, that's kind of the memories. India Road, a lot of people know where that studio is and everything. It's basically a transmitter site now. All of our transmitters are inside and everything. So it's not an office any longer.
Okay.
But
I didn't know that.
I call it Indiana Jones.
It is a little different down there.
Yeah, I never had to work in that.
Yeah, you did. When you first came to us,
I just
She
came
remembers
in
more
and
about
sat
you.
at the big conference table. Then I went up there and worked on Burr Street.
She did.
I could not do. I was claustrophobic.
Well, it was a smaller place, but I remember the day that she walked in. She was. I can even tell you what she was wearing. It was a rainy day, and it was a red rain jacket.
Oh boy.
And she came in, and she was a ball of energy and all that. And I said
I was working for another station.
I said to our sales,
no.
I got on the phone with our sales director, and I said, "You will never believe what just came in." and I told her, and she's like, "Oh my, that's like manna from heaven." And I'm like, "Yes," because we were looking for another salesperson, and finding people who you've got to match up several different things.
Yes, you do. Yes,
you got to
you
have
do.
the right personality. You've got to obviously have the intelligence to do it, and
And it takes a lot of intelligence.
and it's the personality, and you've got to balance all that.
That's right.
We're still working on some things with her intelligence, but no. but anyway, I mean, I was like, we've got to hire this girl.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, bring her in for an interview and all that. And we did. And
I was there the next week.
she was. And
Oh my goodness.
she is an outstanding
They
salesperson.
stole you.
Yes.
I couldn't handle any more of.
Where you were before?
No, I was going to have a massive heart attack.
Oh my goodness.
But she was, I mean,
It's like I got to go.
it's been a great move for us, most
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh,
we
I'm
are very,
sure.
very blessed to have April with us. And of
Yeah.
course, David Jackson, David started off at WTPR in 1972. And he was
That
the
was a
newsman.
good year.
Yeah.
He has
Yeah.
lots of stories.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah?
He was the morning news guy, and he eventually moved on and became a teacher and a basketball coach and soccer coach and all that, and worked for 27 years in the school system. And the reason why he moved on was because he got tired of getting up at 5 in the morning to
Oh,
go do
yeah.
the news.
Yeah.
But there were some perks to where our location was in our current location is in Brewer Street, is because behind it, across the alleyway, if you walk out there now, there's a big C-band antenna out there, and that's old school, but it still works, and you can't find them, and they are fantastic.
Yep.
But right across the street, or right across the alleyway, was a place called Nathan's Restaurant, and so you could call over, I need a ham biscuit, or I need a cheeseburger, or I need something, and they bring it out to you, and you just meet in the alleyway, change
Oh,
money
my
and
goodness,
everything,
how
and that
cool
was
is that?
that was the great days. I wish it was still there.
Yeah.
That would be like, Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this one here.
Yeah.
She's-
This one here. I love that.
This one here is rather bubbly.
I've noticed.
We go into Southside, and I guess it was one Thursday.
They were having dressing.
There was about 4 of us, and we went in, and it was plate lunchtime, and it was chicken and dressing.
Happy Thanksgiving.
It was basically the Thanksgiving meal. And she's sitting there, and she's like, "Happy Thanksgiving, Happy Thanksgiving." Well, everybody knows us anyway. And so I go in like a week later, and I'm eating, and I'm by myself, and she says, "Where's Happy Thanksgiving? You know,
where's Happy Thanksgiving?
Where's April? Where's all?"
my
I said,
goodness.
She's not here. She's out doing something." But I tell you what, the next week we were in there, and here she was. Happy Thanksgiving again.
To know her is to love her for sure.
An acquired taste, is it not?
Yeah.
It's never a dull moment.
No, I know it.
We need. And of course, there's stories we can tell off on her about, and she.
I can tell stories on you.
I know
I
you
have
can.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have lots of blackmail in my phone.
Oh no.
This one here.
2 weeks ago, he was going to be a guitar player. He's in my office with a guitar,
Oh yeah.
playing something.
Yeah. David brought his guitar to work, and I just picked it up and started
Never
playing
know.
it and everything. But with April, let's see, what stories can I tell
He's
off
putting
on
his
you?
thinking
Well,
cap on, April.
whenever
It's
we
getting
do-
serious.
Whenever we do live on location events or anything, she's the one that's got the bubble machine.
There you go.
And now,
course.
whenever we were with Benton Weatherford Broadcasting, we pretty much had no frills remotes and stuff. We had a few things to give away, but we had a tent, and we would play radio and we would be live and everything. Well, the way we have to do it now, of course, with liability and all that, it's hard to be live, completely live now. So we tape a few things and everything, but she'll be running around with the bubble machine, blowing bubbles.
Don't forget,
All
I have a
everybody.
disco ball.
Oh, she does have a disco ball
spinning
too.
disco ball that hangs in the center of the tent.
So yeah, so there's all kinds of things.
You got to make it fun.
We
Oh
try
my
to.
goodness. I know, and you do. And I've been to several of your little get-togethers, and it is always fun.
You should see my Heelys, my skates
Oh,
that light up.
Oh,
Oh boy.
okay.
Well, I've got to see that, okay?
I have them.
Yeah.
We,
Oh, yeah.
what remote was that? What live on location was that we were going to do? We were going to do something. Oh, Tennessee River Jam.
Yeah.
Was that not it? What you had?
Was she
them for?
skating around there?
No, I was going to do it. I was going to skate. I thought I was going to do the parade route.
Oh yeah, for fish fry
I
parade.
decided I might kill myself.
She was going to walk the parade route, and she was going. And
didn't
so
know.
we're in a meeting, and we're talking about what all we're doing and everything, and we're going to have the vehicle in the parade and everything, and she's going to be going down the parade route. And she's like,
Heelys that light up.
she's on her phone. I got to get these. And she's looking up Amazon. She's getting Heelys that light
Oh
up.
my goodness.
So they
She's a
come
brave
in.
girl.
They come in like 2 days later. They come in, and she's running up and down the hall of the radio station with these Heelys on like a little kid, and they light up all
Oh
over
my
the place.
goodness, how cute is that?
And so, I mean, it's never a dull moment.
Oh, it is never a dull moment.
It's
I'm finding that out just, working with her myself.
Gotta have fun.
well, it's
It's
like
too much fun.
WKRP in Cincinnati. That old show. It's
Oh, my
it's always,
goodness, yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. And then we have Sherry, our traffic director. Oh my goodness.
Sherry Mustin. And
She is the glue. She's our glue.
Oh, that's so
Like
all
I
right.
bring her a present every week. Sometimes daily.
Really?
Yes. Because that's how much I love her.
Aw,
She takes
how
care of
sweet.
us.
I hope she's watching tonight and she can hear you tell her that.
She's our glue.
Aw.
She
So who all is there? How many people do you have in that studio?
well, there's 4 of us that are full time that are there, and then we've got so many other people that are more or less streamers and behind the scenes. Shannon McFarlane is our news director.
She's excellent.
We've got she is a news hound. I mean, she gets
is.
out and she gets
I know
gets
it. Yeah.
We've got a new element that we've added last year was the streaming of sports and fish fry parade and that sort of thing. And that's Dallas Jackson, Tyler Miller, and Jordan Lax. and
Okay.
Jordan lives in Murray. But it's something that we started in Henry County and over in Union City. We've got sister stations. Forever Communications owns stations in Bowling Green, Kentucky, Glasgow, Kentucky, Jackson, Union City, and here in Paris.
How many do you have in total?
I think there's 21 in total.
21.
21
Yeah,
and,
that's
and
what I
well,
thought I
there's two
counted.
different branches of Forever. There's Forever South, and then you've got Forever Media, which is up north. And I want to say there's 60 some odd stations.
Wow.
And then there's
more
branches
than
and
that.
divisions
Yeah.
of that. So
Wow.
Yeah.
it's over 100 stations. But there's different divisions, different branches, and all that sort of thing. So it's a big company.
Yes,
And,
it is. Huge.
But down here, it was a pilot program that we started here in Paris because we, for so many years with Benton Weatherford Broadcasting, we were the sports outlet. And that's something that I've got a lot of pride in. I'm going to brag a little bit.
Yes,
That's something Dan Patterson started with Lon Sosh back in the day. And it's something that I kind of took and built on a little bit more. But we were able to expand into video, and so that's something that we did last year. And so we did video here and in Union City, and now we have gone company wide with it. And they've launched a new Sports 731 for West Tennessee that's going to do a lot of games in Jackson and feature schools all over West Tennessee.
Awesome.
And they've
That's
done,
great.
they're doing some sports in Murray. They're doing some sports in Glasgow and Bowling Green with high schools. And so it's something that we've done. So Tyler and Dallas and Jordan are a part of that. I don't work a whole lot with the Union City crew. I don't know a lot. I know they're announcers over there, but I'm not really familiar with all the production personnel and stuff like that. But Darren Thompson is our play-by-play for football. John Davidson is our color commentator for football. David Jackson actually is doing a ball game now.
Right now, as we
Oh,
speak.
very good.
A middle school ball game. So
Well, school just started. Here
Yes,
we go.
yes.
Kickoff, isn't it?
and we've
Yeah.
got our McKenzie crew. We've got John Davis and Craig Lund,
Lund.
and David helps out over there some. And we've got different sports. Sam
Stewart
McDaniel.
County.
Well, at Stewart County, we've got Brian Milton and Boone Smith over. And I mean, it takes a lot of people
It does.
to
It's
do
a
it.
lot.
There are so many schools.
We've got that do basketball. Sam McDaniel, Jeremy Buckaloo fills in a little bit. Ben Whitmire fills in. Dan Patterson does color commentary and play-by-play. And then for baseball, Ben Whitmire, Jeremy Buckaloo. I mean, we've got a lot of different people that do a lot of things. And I'm trying not to forget anybody. But, it's a pretty big endeavor. And a lot of that sports was modeled on how we did things here in Paris. And now it's
Oh,
company-wide.
isn't that nice? So yeah. That's excellent.
Because we're kind of a big deal.
You are a big deal, both of you. A very big deal.
She's the big deal. Our executive vice president, Jared Mims, he said that one time. Kind of a big deal.
But I got a coffee mug that says it.
Yeah. Aww. And of course, our president of our company, Christine Hillard, she is wonderful to work for. She is great.
Yeah, she's so sweet.
That is awesome.
And
to
she's
hear.
the one that's got a little interest in the paranormal too, because in talking with
Now
her.
you're talking my thing.
Well, she it was very interesting, her take on it, and I wonder how you feel about this. When we were talking about it, she divided everything up into thirds. She goes, there's a third that believe,
That's
there's a
right.
third that don't believe, and then there's a third of the people that just see it as entertainment value.
Right.
And I'm kind of one of those. I won't say I believe 100% in it, but I have an interest, and it's entertainment to me. Now, my wife,
I can't wait to meet your wife and talk to her.
Leslie,
That woman, oh my goodness, I can't wait.
Leslie sits there and says, "Oh, I believe, I believe this one here." I mean, that's where our common ground
yeah.
really is. Is
Yeah.
that we started talking one day, and she starts naming off all this stuff. I'm like, I know that.
I'm like, what?
But the weird thing was the day that she came in, and you're going to have to tell me what it was. It wasn't a that field. What is the field
Oh,
meter?
my
tri-
EMF
tri-field
detector.
meter.
Yeah, there wasn't a
EMF.
tri-field meter, but it was the other one that you came
EMF
in.
detector.
Yeah, EMF,
EMF.
detector.
I'm going through the station.
Oh, yes,
With my
yes.
EMF.
And then she comes up to me and she's done. There's nothing there. And what did you go to David and there was it beeped or something like that, or?
Well, we was trying to see if that ghost was in that
Yeah.
office.
Yeah. Well,
And-
that would be one of the tools that you would use. But you know, I come to it from such a completely different angle. I don't come to it from the negative angle. I'm looking at it because I've got such a deep faith in God. I'm looking at it from a spiritual angle of, you know, there are many things out there
Right.
that do go bump in the night, and those are very valid and very real. And to tell a child that's experiencing something like that, or to tell somebody, well, you didn't really see that, that is lying to that person. They in fact did see what they thought they saw.
Yeah.
And the thing is that there is a way to deal with that in a good spiritual way, not a negative, frightening, scary
Right.
way, which is what led me, you know, into demonology, to help people, and not to judge them for what's happened, but to walk them through it to a place of understanding. These things happen, and they've happened
Yeah.
to millions of
Yes.
people all the time, every day, every night. And that's why I am so drawn to it from that different perspective. I know a lot of people out there are doing it for the entertainment value, and half of what you see on TV is phony. It's contrived. It's because they want you to tune in every week.
Oh, it's ratings.
And so every ratings, it's all about the ratings. And I'm not coming from that perspective. I'm coming from a perspective of this really does happen. And when a child comes to their parent and says, there's someone in my room, or I saw this, please listen to your children, because you know they are
Well, they're open.
they're open, and
very
they are
open.
trying to tell you that something is not normal. You know, but define normal for every one of us. Normal is very different.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
So
I feel like I'm a total weirdo.
and that's the
love
best
being
way to
weird.
be.
I feel that way too. She's a
I need a taser.
A taser.
Can we get a taser?
No tasers tonight. Good grief.
I'll trust me. I'll pay for it tomorrow. I will.
Yeah.
She'll do something.
She'll think of some.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, there's so much out there that is you
not
can't explain it.
No, you
Explain
can't
it.
explain it, but I actually can, and I can actually look at that from the right perspective. And you know, nobody's brighter than God, okay?
Right.
And He will definitely lead us into knowledge and understanding, and He'll show us what this is all about. And the Bible is full of all kinds of things that were very bizarre, and for the normal person, even just reading it, you're like, wow, this is crazy, but it happened. Chariots, of fire and all
Yes.
these different things, and people don't understand them because it is not normal.
And it's kind of
Very symbolic.
Paranormal.
it's kind of a taboo subject because people, oh, well, we don't want to talk about that.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we
people
don't
don't wanna-
understand it.
Right.
And all that, a lot of, and as you said, there's a lot of it that is for production value and to get you to
Right.
tune in next week and all that sort of thing. And I kind of gave up on watching a lot of those shows because
Oh, they were
noth-
boring. They were so farce. It was all farce.
well, nothing ever happened.
Right.
Oh,
It
why was that on my
contrived.
neck? Oh,
Yeah.
I felt a cold spot. Oh,
And the other thing is that when something did finally happen, if something really did happen, they all got so afraid they couldn't even handle it. They had to turn around and run.
Yeah, yeah, but it's more for the education. What is going on here?
Yes.
I like that.
That's where I
More
can.
the cryptic.
Yes.
Yeah. What is actually happening? What is this? And you try to rationalize it and make some sort of have some sort of understanding of what it is, and it's
Right.
education. It's educational. It's
Right.
learning what's going on here.
Right, absolutely. And, all for our people that are watching tonight, be sure to stay tuned for updates on the start of the Paris Paranormal Show. And yeah, there you go. The cat is out of the bag, and here we're talking about it tonight, but we're going to have true local stories, legends, and so much more. And it's going to be hosted by me and my good friend April.
Yay!
So we will have some fun, and we'll talk about the truth. We're not here for the farce and for, loading it up just to make it interesting for you. We're going to talk about the truth. And I'm just really excited about it. We're looking at September 6th to be our first show, to be live here at the Paris Studios. And I'm just asking everybody, reaching out to people, if there's something that has happened to you here locally in Paris and in your home or in your building or where you work, reach out to us. We want to hear about that. We want to look at it. I'd like to investigate those things and then be able to decipher a conclusion to what has actually happened and, work with people, because some people are really afraid of those things. And there are ways, if something is happening, that, there is a way to cleanse and clear out things. So how excited are you about this?
I'm very excited.
And here's
Because I work in Stewart County, and I always say, oh my gosh, I hope today a Bigfoot steps out in front of my car.
Yeah,
it could happen.
it could happen.
But there's so many interesting stories in and around Paris, Tennessee.
I know it.
Especially with, I remember watching one show at one time. I mean, you just think about just down the road at Shiloh.
Yes.
And with all the things, if you go up into the Northeast, you will have, paranormal activity dating back to Revolutionary War.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Here, it's going to be mostly
absolutely.
Civil War.
Right.
And to me, the Civil War is not as interesting as Revolutionary War time because it was really crazy back then. I mean, it was so much more primitive and I mean, just think about the Bell Witch and all of that.
Yes.
That was what, around 18
And that's
mid 1800s or
Yes.
something.
That's just right up the road.
And that's
It's
just
just
right
in
up the road.
Adams, Tennessee.
Well, you talk about, you take it one step further and you go back to the 1700s and
Right.
a different time and a different
Right.
era, and the stories are just amazing.
I know.
It's really interesting.
I know it, and I've been told that the area that we live on, our 2 acres there, it used to be where the let me see, I don't know what type of Indian it was, but they would all come to meet there. There was a well there at the time in the 1700s. And it's just so interesting. And we'll be talking about all of that, on the Paris Paranormal Show and talking about what people have seen on our property. I don't want to give away too much, but these are stories that go way back.
Yep.
And just in this general area, like you were saying. So it really is interesting. And I know that these things are true because this is that we moved into our home in 2020, and we're still seeing what people from way before us had reported. So, you'll just have to tune into that first show and find out more about it.
And you look at that, and that's time frame. You're looking at things from, we're going through our bicentennial. So you're looking at 1820s
Yes, right.
on up,
Right.
from the founding of Paris and Henry County.
Right, and
all
we
of
were
that.
built in 1852, 54.
So you're talking 30 years after, a
Right.
small amount of time.
Yes,
and
I
it's
know
all energy.
I know, it is.
It's all
And-
energy.
Yeah.
Even when we die, there's still that energy still
Oh,
left.
absolutely. And things are cyclic, and oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about.
Residual.
But, I want to take this moment to just share a little bit about what else is coming. So coming to the Paris Convention Center this October, and just in time for Halloween, Enigmatic Anomalies will present Enigmacon, and we'll have top names in the paranormal field, and we'll be descending upon Paris right here, so we won't want you to miss that. So stay tuned so we can tell you more about that, because we are honored to have the MC for that event be none other than Lance Pierce.
Yep.
So Lance Are you looking forward to that?
Oh man, that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be
It's-
so much fun.
It's gonna be so much fun.
And
I
it's
know
something
it.
that it's something that you know, come on out,
Uh-huh.
enjoy yourself.
That's right.
Whether you're a skeptic, whether you're just curious, come on out, because I mean, everyone has been in some part of this. You may be a true believer. You
Yes,
may be one of those that's just like for the entertainment value, and then you may be like, that's
Total skeptic. Yeah.
But it's just a sharing of ideas,
But
and
even the skeptics,
you
they're
never know.
still
Yeah.
they still want to know.
Yeah.
They do. And, it's okay to be skeptical,
Yeah.
but, you have to have knowledge to have understanding of what is actually happening.
Yes.
And if you want to stay uninformed, that is your prerogative.
Sure.
But we can inform you of facts and truth and things that have happened and what does happen when things do go bump in the night. So, there are ways to deal with all of those things, and they're very positive. It isn't frightening and scary and spooky the way they make it sound. It is going through those moments, but there is good news, at the end of the tunnel there. So I definitely want to encourage people to be a part of that and join us, and we will have some very good names, and I don't want to talk about anything till we do a full release on who we'll have here. But I'm so looking forward to this. Really looking
am
forward
too.
to this.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. And finally, be sure to tune in to the Tennessee Informer with Dave Vance every Monday to stay up to date on all of the goings on in Tennessee politics. Log on to tninformer.com to learn more. Dave always has incredible, notable guests on with him. And for example, state representatives such as the Representative Rusty Grills and John Reagan are covering topics that are important to all of us. So that's every Monday at 7 p.m. only here at the Tennessee Informer, tninformer.com. So, well, that's it for today, y'all. And thanks again to Lance and April for being here. This has just been so much fun. I think it's gone by way too quick. I just want to keep going. I think we have to have another time to have you on. But thank you both for being here with
Thank
us.
you for having us.
And to all of you that are watching, it's been an amazing show. And join us again next week, same day, same time. And until then, y'all want to say this with me? Have a good day, Paris. Bye now.